Welcome to my second episode of Broken Tired Garage, the place for where the broke and tired can learn how to fix random machinery and equipment. Now, what I have here today is this old Coleman PowerMate, PowerBase 5000. Now, I bought it once again from a local classified ad, as a matter of fact from the same guy I bought the snowblower from as a non-runner. Now, we're going to have to see what's wrong with it. I have some suspicions. The fuel doesn't smell very good, so we're going to start with the fuel change on it. Smells like diesel to me, but I'll drain it. We'll take a look at it and clean it out and go from there. And we'll see if we'll have a nice running generator. See what happens next. In my last video, I made mention about making sure that parts are available. I haven't really done too much of that on this machine. However, if you are looking for parts, now I don't really endorse these companies. They're not giving me a cut or anything. These are just places that I've gone and looked for parts and actually purchased parts from. Partstree.com and repairclinic.com and amazon.ca are where I tend to buy my parts. I wanted to deal with some local small engine shops in my town, but they tell me that they don't really deal with these with their manufacturer, that they order from partstree.com themselves. So I just that's what I do. But for now, let's continue with this machine here. Now, as you can see right here, we got our main fuel line, supply fuel line. Now, in line there is a filter. We're going to change that for sure. Now, this machine is equipped with your standard Briggs & Stratton. Can't really see manufacturer, but it does have the important label there. That's the label that's going to help you order anything for a machine like this. And over here we have a shut-off valve. I'm not sure if it's open or closed, but it's screwed all the way in. So I'm thinking that that's probably open. So I'm going to turn it out. And hopefully that's off as I disconnect the line so I don't make a mess. Another piece of important information is on this label right here, which gives you the specs of the actual generator itself. So, moving right along here. I got my old handy pickle jar, and I'm going to disconnect up in front of the fuel filter. Give a little twist and let her drain out. I guess I was wrong about the valve because it's open right now. Yeah, it was opposite of what I thought. Yeah, already I could tell you this is oily. I don't smell any gas in there. Somebody accidentally put diesel in this thing, it seems like. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that the motor's shot. I have experienced cars that have had diesel fuel put on them, and as long as it gets cleaned out properly and it hasn't run on diesel. Now, it is possible to run a gas engine on diesel. I don't recommend it. The parts are not robust enough. If the combustion temperatures are high enough, it'll cause excessive detonation and break parts. I've seen one blow a piston apart. But on these small engines, chances are it just probably resulted in a no start. So we're going to clean the fuel system out. Alright, so I'll let that drain out and then we'll continue. Alright, so I've drained the fuel tank on this thing and I've pulled out probably about 3.5 liters of diesel out of the tank. Now, I have my jar of gasoline that I took out of the old snowblower. Now, if you look up into the light there, you can see that the gasoline has more of a clearish, yellowy tinge to it, whereas the diesel looks almost fluorescent and under certain conditions almost looks green. Now, that's definitely diesel. So what do we do to fix that? Let's start by cleaning the fuel system. Now, to clean the tank, really all I'm going to do is I'm going to put a liter of gasoline in it, some high octane. With small engines, I like to use premium because it contains no ethanol and it won't eat the plastic components or cause any additional corrosion. So I'm going to put a liter of that in there, shake it up, and then let it drain into one of my jars here, and then I'll dispose of it properly. I'm going to put a new fuel filter on it, and then I'm going to clean out the fuel line going to the, there's actually a fuel pump on this thing. So I'll be blowing out that line going to the fuel pump with my trusty old brake clean. Now, anybody who works on any kind of machinery really needs to have this in their toolbox. This stuff cleans grease, dirt, grime fairly quickly, evaporates quickly, and works good for that kind of thing. So I'm going to get set up here and I'm going to clean that fuel tank. I don't think you guys need to actually watch me dance around unless you want me to. Okay, I'm going to try this with a time lapse. I don't know if it's going to work, but we're going to give it a shot. Okay, so that ought to do it. So we'll drain out the residual fuel. Now, I wouldn't want to use that fuel in anything, because it would probably run into some kind of rough running or no start. I'm lucky that the previous owner put casters on the chassis of this generator, so I was able to dance around. Okay. Well, I've since put in a new fuel filter. I don't even know if I have it in the right way. I'm going to have to do some reading up on that. But I've put it in. Our fuel tank should be relatively clean. And now we're going to move along to the carburetor. In order to do that, we need to get into this plastic box here, which is the air filter box. Oh boy. It's coming. Good. There. Let's look at our air filter. That's pretty filthy. So we're going to cross-reference the part number on there and see if we can find a replacement. We got to remove this retainer screw here. I'll try to position that a little better. Those are 7/16 screws, or nuts I should say. Take those out. And this should come off. Oh, there's a breather tube. And that pulls right out. That was the breather tube right there. It's just stamped steel. So it just kind of sits in that little groove there. And so there's the carburetor. Now, I don't know if you could see it. Yeah, that's the actual fuel pump. I don't know if it works or not. I don't know if the diesel fuel would have damaged that. We'll find out eventually, but like I said, we got to clean the diesel out first before we can find out what else is wrong. But one thing for sure is that fuel bowl is probably going to be full. So we got to drain it. So I'm going to loosen the screw at the bottom of the fuel bowl of the carburetor. Get my little pickle jar, and yes, I like pickles. Hence why I have so many stray pickle jars. And the glass doesn't get melted by any kind of chemicals. Yeah, you see all that fuel? That just sits in there. Now, I'm going to pull that off. Uh-oh. Okay, sorry about that. Had a little bit of an incident there. I knocked over my trusty pickle jar and spilt diesel fuel all over myself. It's all contained. Everything is good. Luckily, I'm working in my garage at home, and I have a workbench. So if you do this on your living room rug, you'd be in trouble for sure. But all I wanted to do is just pull off the fuel bowl to the carburetor, just to give it a clean. That's all. Just get the debris out and give it a nice little cleaning. That's all I wanted to do before popping it back on. And then just give it a little float, little squirts too. And then we just pop it back together. The gasket looks in good shape, so I'm not too concerned. Just give that, torque it a little bit. Doesn't have to be super tight. But that's pretty much it for the initial fuel system cleaning. I don't know if there's anything else wrong with this machine, but we'll follow up with that afterwards. I'm going to film a first start on this machine, and we'll see how it goes. Okay, just like any family man, I gotta find time to actually do this kind of stuff when your kid isn't napping. So I got a few minutes now. I'm going to try firing this thing up. I've since put some fresh gas in it, turned the fuel on. I verified that there was spark. So I put the choke on, ignition's on. We're going to see if it'll fire. Okay, well that's all good news. That bit of smoke you saw initially, that was the residual diesel fuel in the system. So if there's only a little bit, that's okay. It'll burn out. So far so good. Next chance I get, I'm going to take a look at the rest of the machine and see what else it needs. But now we know the motor runs, the generator portion works, good to go. Okay, well, I've had to order some parts for this machine. I've gone through it, And really and truly, there's not much wrong with it. We said earlier the air filter needed to be replaced. Now, using the part number that was on the old filter, I found a cross-reference to another Briggs & Stratton part, which is a different part number. So what they had was a 496077, and I was able to cross-reference it to a 691643. As far as I could tell, these filters are identical, so I wouldn't hesitate really to put that in. And the only other thing I found was the rubber motor mount. There's a three rubber motor mounts. One that goes below the generator unit and two underneath the motor. The one underneath the generator was separated and broken, so I tried to find a part number. I found a part number through a manual, and it's no longer serviced. You can't get parts for it. However, that doesn't mean we're dead in the water yet. I did find these more universal, like rubber motor mounts. They're not as soft as the original, but I think it'll do for our purposes. Now I had to figure out what the thread was, because this actually threads into the bottom of this. And so I had to figure out, is it metric, is it standard? As far as I could tell, it was 5/16 by 18 thread. So I used those specs, found on Amazon a kit, a pack of 5 for about 20 bucks. So I can't really complain about that. So I'm gonna put those in. But for the mount itself, it's kind of hard for you guys to see, but there's a bracket right there. I have to unbolt that bracket from the frame here. I've already unbolted this unit from its little homemade dolly, and I'm going to change out that mount. So I'm going to hold on. All seems to be 1/2 inch. That's the thing, like, sometimes you got metric with imperial, or imperial with metric, so that's why it's important to figure that out when you're figuring out what you need, is what you're dealing with. So there's one. Okay, there's one bolt, and we're going to do the same to the other. Hold on to it. Those bolts are 1/2 inch. Now you could flip this on its side to do it, but I probably wouldn't do it just because you got gas and oil. It's best to keep it upright. I have it elevated on wooden blocks. You can kind of see it there, and that seems to work good. Alright, we're almost there. Alright, so there's the broken motor mount there. There was a vulcanized piece there. I've already unthreaded it out of the machine there, because I needed to know what thread I was dealing with. But you can see it was just vulcanized in, it was nothing fancy. So we're just going to change that out. What's tight? There we go. Who knows how long it's been broken for. Now, one thing I didn't realize, because the parts diagram indicated that this had a double threaded rod on it, like that. But as you can see, it has a bolt that bolts in the bottom. But it doesn't mean that this won't work, because the bracket itself will still work. I just got to find a nut for it. So thread it on. Now I'm just going to loosely hang on to it with my vice grips. loosely hang on to it, and then I'm going to crank it down. It's important to do this part first. Actually, now that I think of it, maybe we should just keep it loose, because I just remembered it threads into the bottom of this. If you tighten it down, you're not threading this in, so just have it started, enough for it to spin, and we'll go from there. Find the hole. Oops. Sorry, I have to film these segments in sections, and it takes me like 2-3 weeks to make a video, just recording, because I only have about an hour a night that I can do anything like this. Because when you got 2 kids and a full-time job, that's just the way she rolls. That is not threading in very nice. Oh, it's going. It's going. It doesn't have to be super tight, because if you have the other one tight, it's going to keep it from spinning out. But you just want it so it doesn't rattle around in there. There's a spacer washer. Okay. So that's that. Now, I'm going to have to lift this up a little bit to get my ratchet in there. Oops, wrong way. Old lefty loosey, righty tighty. Just get that little tweak. Now, I'm going to straighten out the mount first before I give it its last crank, because you don't want the bushing to twist, because if it twists and you leave it that way, it's just going to put an extra stress on it. You want it in its relaxed position. Alright, so that's that. We're just going to bolt her back down. And that's the way she rolls. There we go. So we'll get back to that, and then we'll put the air filter in next. Okay, well, I'm going to pop the air filter in. Now, this filter is labeled which direction to put out, but you just want to make sure your fins are facing the dirty side. The clean side should be the metal side. That applies to cars too. So just pop that in, put it in like so. Can you really see what I'm doing here or not really? There's the screws. Really an 8mm would do a better job of this, but it's kind of at a weird angle. So my worn out flathead seems to do the job. Okay, so that's it for our air filter and our engine mount. This thing is in pretty good shape otherwise. The only thing I'm going to do, and I'm not going to do it on camera, you don't need to watch me drain oil, is just change the oil and just that kind of regular maintenance. We know the gas is good in it, ignition's good, so just do the last bit of maintenance, some fresh oil. It'll probably make things go along much better. I just want to bring something to your attention here, just so you can see it here. This is a low oil switch. Now, what happens is when the oil level drops below a certain point, this wire grounds out your ignition coil. Now, there's labels on this motor that say top up your oil before you start it, which is true. If you don't, this thing won't start. And that's what I found with it, is that I had to add a bit of oil to get the ignition working. Like, it's overflowing. So I probably put a little too much in there, but we're gonna fix that. All right. Now I want to thank everybody for watching my videos and subscribing if you like what you see. I'm going to do my best to deliver whatever I can as accurately as possible, and machinery, and I'm probably going to dabble a little bit with cars as well, since that's my area of expertise. That's what I've been doing my entire professional career. But yeah, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. If you want to leave comments or suggestions, such as like if you want to see something specific for me to work on or whatnot, I'm going to be doing recap video on the snowblower, and I got a few more things up my sleeve already. And if you just have some more ideas, just post in the comments and I'll check it out. And if I'll try to reply comments. Some of them haven't been working, but I will honestly try my best. Okay. So thank you so much for watching. And it's getting late. I'm broke. I'm tired. It's time to go to bed.